And let me start with my so this is basically Sarah has given a very good introduction, very detailed introduction about NEP. So NEP is like a fresh air to me, and which aims at reforming, refurbishing, and restructuring the education system holistically through these sweeping reforms which have come in, and which really makes us excited because it's not me, basically people have been waiting for the past 35 years to get something changed, to get themselves updated vis-a-vis the world around us, which is changing. So education has to change if we want to bring about the changes in our lives. So education for me is a fundamental aspect for achieving full potential. It's an enlightening experience, which the NEP 2020 talks about. And learning has to be very experiential. It has to be based on one's experiences. It has to be very fun. It has to be a happy thing to happen. It also facilitates a lot of acquisition of skills, values, beliefs, and habits in us. So we not only learn the academic aspect, we also grow as an individual when we get into this education. So it helps us in developing that equitable, humane, and just society, and thereby resulting in developing a nation with a national character, which is one of the very important thing, and it's a part of a big picture which this NEP is aiming at. So education will definitely, and I expect that this actually aids in wholesome development on all the parameters. So when I talk about my area today, which I'm presenting, so it's about inclusion and equitable education. These are my musings. I'll express something which is very close to my heart, since I deal with special children at the school. So this is one part which is very important for me. So we always try to include children. So when we talk of inclusion in equitable education, so equitable inclusion is basically a moral imperative, an acknowledgement of that the truest knowledge and the story of our world which we want to write. So and when we want to write such an equitable story, when we want to include everyone, we need everyone to participate fully in spite of the challenges, the diversities, the differences, the culturally beliefs, in terms of their caste, creed, ethos, their backgrounds, their economic status, their socio-culture ethos. All this comes into inclusion. So we need to include people in every way. We need to offer them a lot of things which are available. They have to be shared equally. So it basically forms an inclusive approach. So when we look at inclusion in India, so we need to deal with a lot of diversity. So diversity is one aspect we need to tackle. We need to address as teachers and as educators at the school, because India is one diversified nation, one of the most diversified nations in the world, and with different cultures and challenges to face. So this is something which is very important when we deal with it. So it means to me community service, which Sarah has talked about, demonstrating respect, and giving mutual respect, which has to be actively provided. Mutual respect and actually is a way to meaningful inclusion, which is one of the key aspects. And then leading to full participation, which has to be again leading to shared power. So which is very important thing. And this framework is basically intended towards genuine and equitable education through inclusion. So when we look at the thing that what is inclusion? Inclusion is basically a philosophy which embraces all and which talks about that everyone has something special. Sarah has talked about that this education policy believes in uniqueness of an individual. Everyone, each one of us has something special to offer. Everyone, therefore, has a right to belong. So inclusion is a basic human right. It's not a privilege. We can never say that we are just including you. No, it's as per our constitutional rights also, inclusion is basic human right, and everyone has a right to be included. It's never a privilege. And equitable and inclusive education basically leads to learning for all. So children with different capacities, interest, intelligence quotient, which is IQs, and giftedness need to be included, encouraged. So Sarah has talked about this particular thing, exceptional children. So which is concept of giftedness, which has been included, and this policy talks about very vehemently about these things. So let me just refer for a very brief, just for your understanding. Otherwise, many would be talking about in detail about this giftedness. So it's a bell curve which we use in psychology. Basically, it's a scores of our intelligence. So you can see there are scores from 55 to 145. And there is a middle which is there, which is 100. So anything below 100 is supposed to be, 100 is average, and below it is supposed to be below average or the borderline IQs. Anything, when we go towards the other side, when we go towards the increasing side, there is 115, which is above average. There's IQ level of 130, which is high intellectual abilities. Then there is a superior intellectual abilities. Then comes exceptionally gifted, which is our giftedness thing. So I'll not go in much detail. So these are the children which need to be included. This is there in a lot of Western countries, in Gulf countries. Many people from here on the workshop are there from Gulf countries. So their schools are already working on giftedness, and the special educators are supposed to provide. Otherwise, if we don't include these gifted children, we lose on a lot of bright children who can do many things, in future. So, and then we need to also look for the children with little lower abilities, little lower IQs, which are slow learners, which have specific learning disabilities. We need to also include them. So there is a concept of special educators, which is already there, but there are many schools who don't have special educators. So special educators, as per the policy, to play a vital role for teaching children specific learning disabilities and with special needs, and till the middle and senior schools. We are already doing that, but this has been now given very clearly that we need to have special educator assisting, guiding, supporting these children to the senior level. Then we need to create and enable a mechanism which is self-sustaining, which is again very fostering learning, and which is very positive in approach for children with special needs. And there is a mention of full participation of children with special needs as per the Rights for Person with Disability Act 2016. So inclusion talks about this act and refers it very clearly. And school needs to provide the resources for integration of children with disabilities. And then this means we need to include again everyone, and the resource room has to be provided, barrier-free access, appropriate technology-based tools, assistive devices, and many more supports to be rendered to children from time to time. One needs to be updated and upgrade these resource rooms for special children from time to time. Many schools don't have, but they will be very strict monitoring on this too. Schools are, and the responsible agencies, all the stakeholders provide cross-disabilities training, which is again a very important aspect, because we just have a special educator. Sometimes she stands alone from 0 to 12 in a school. So which becomes very difficult for her to reach out to all the children in school. So teachers need to be aware of at least some basic knowledge to handle these children in the classrooms, so they can they help these children, and there is a smooth integration and inclusion of children with special needs. And there's more engagement of teachers with peers. Teachers can always appoint a peer buddy. We can have a peer buddies, multiple peer buddies in the class who can from time to time help the special child. So which brings in a lot of positivity and acceptance. I mean, which also leads to avoidance of these episodes of ragging and bullying amongst the children. So this also gives a lot of positive self-concept among the class, and fostering a very positive environment of helping and including and cooperation. And there is NIOS, which needs to develop high quality module for teachers to teach Indian sign languages, enabling better communication. So children who are hearing impaired, especially they have no clue what happens in the classes unless they have hearing aids. So we will have special people who will be helping, and especially at the NIOS. NIOS has actually is lagging behind in terms of children with special needs. Whenever the child is unable to pass, we put them in NIOS, but then there also they face a lot of apathy and a lot of neglect there. So they need to be also hauled up or to cater with children with special need, to include them fully. And as per the Rights of Person with Disability Act, which is RPW 2016, children with benchmark disability, I mean the disabilities which are above 40%, this is called benchmark disability. The disabilities in any case have a 40% of disability, will have a choice of normal or special school, which is again a very welcome move. However, children with profound disabilities who are unable to go to school can be homeschooled. Guidelines and standards to be developed subsequently for homeschooling. And as we know, most classrooms have children with specific learning disabilities, slow learnings, and they have sometimes other disabilities which need to be supported with continuous interventions with the collaborative approach of inclusion. And teachers are expected to use appropriate technologies, providing students with learning at their own pace, which could be a differentiated pace of learning. There could be a task